Hey there, welcome to the video. My name's Tim Simpson if you don't know me already. I'm making films about YouTubing video, phones, computers, text, cameras, lenses, sliders, drones, all of that really cool filmmaking stuff and anything to do around filmmaking and YouTubing. If that's the sort of thing you're interested in, then hit that subscribe button and the notification link and everything down below to make sure you don't miss out on any videos. Today I'm going to be taking around a number of iPhones, getting a whole heap of photos and just having a look and see what the difference is from the 5S right up through to the new XS Max. I've got 4 different phones I'm trying out today: an iPhone 5S, an iPhone 7 Plus, an iPhone X, and an iPhone XS Max. I'm going to take a quick wander around the block where I live and look for a whole different, basically, scenarios that we could be taking photos in. So I'm going to be looking for different color, high and low contrast, bright shadows, all these little bits and pieces and mix them up. And I'm going to pull these photos back here, put them into the video so that we can have a look at them and see how far the iPhone really has come. And where getting a new one may not make a difference for you as well. That's another really important factor with this. So come on, let's grab these phones here and we'll head off outside into the brave world and take some photos. Rightio, I'm back now with the collection of phones and I'm going to capture those. Now the great thing about the iPhone and that I'm using the Mac here is that I can just use AirDrop and drop them all across at once. It's real quick, real easy. AirDrop is an absolute must for me when I'm doing a lot of things. Even with the GoPro, I can capture to the phone while I'm on the go and then I just AirDrop it from the phone to the Mac when I get into range. And you can set that up to happen automatically as well. It's just great. So I'm going to AirDrop those photos now and we'll pull them up on screen and let's have a quick look at the different ones we've got and see what the differences and similarities are between the different ages of cameras. Now that we've had a look through all of those pictures, there's a few things that I've noticed myself through them that I thought I'd bring up and point out. The first one is, of course, that the iPhone 5 doesn't quite have the same dynamic range as the rest of the cameras. If you've noticed in the first couple of photos in particular, there's a fairly even colour along that windowsill with the moss on it. There's a bright patch on the wall with the sunlight shining straight down. Most of the other cameras managed to bring the dynamic range of that in so that you could actually still see some detail on the brickwork with the light, whereas the iPhone 5S blew that out white all the time. And that was a common thing with the iPhone 5, was it did blow out the white lights and bright lights in a lot of the photos through the whole shoot. The other three phones didn't do that, but I did notice that the iPhone 10 in the color science in that one there did crush the blacks a lot more than the 5, 7 or the 10s Max. So what that meant was that anywhere where you've got a dark area, if you wanted to bring that up again, you wouldn't have that much data in there to do that. I didn't actually try bringing any of the dark up in any of the photos, but generally speaking, if you can't see it, then there's not going to be as much data there than when you can see it. So that's something I could test out a bit more, I guess, but yeah, that's just something in the color science. And I remember people mentioning it when the iPhone 10 came out, that the blacks did crush a bit. In low contrast neutral tones as well. Now this is something that was interesting with the iPhone 5. Any of the lighter colours had less texture in them. They tended to posturize. They weren't blowing out and just going zero colour in them or 100% brightness, but there was less texture through those areas that were quite light. On the first three phones, the 5, the 7 and the 10, I did notice that a lot of the saturated colours, so the bright yellow in the flowers and the bright blues and purples and things like that, they tended to be a lot brighter. And much more saturated. In contrast to that, on the 10s Max, those saturated colours were a lot softer. They weren't as intense, and the good thing about that is you get some texture back. The petals on those yellow flowers, for example, which were quite a solid yellow on the 5, 7 and 10, were bit pulled back, but you could see the texture of the petal itself, so the veins and the grains and stuff going through that petal, you could see that more easily. The great thing about that is that you can always bring that saturation back up again, but it's really hard to bring it down without flattening it and just ending up with that flat smoothing. Texture is something that a lot of people forget about in photos when they're looking at brightness and the amount of color. The amount of texture in a photo is, I would say, far more important. I would even go so far as to say that the yellow in the 10s Max was more natural colour. It wasn't as vibrant, but I think a lot of photos and cameras these days tend to try and make things too vibrant and play with our memories rather than what we experience in reality. I hope this has been useful to you and that you've found something interesting in these photos and learned something about these cameras. One of the big takeaways for me was, even though that there are these small differences between the cameras, there's actually not that much between them. If you have a look at the actual subject area of the photos coming out of the 5S are pretty damn close to the ones coming out of the 10s Max for the majority of the time. There's the odd thing, it's in extreme conditions that the 10s Max definitely does a hell of a lot better. But if you're just taking day-to-day photos in good light, the 5S is still a perfectly good camera, and that's something I'm going to go into more with a lot of these videos, is talking about how sometimes the old tech doesn't make it mean that it's degraded. It's still a really good camera, and it still takes fantastic photos. Anyway, I hope that has been really useful to you. If it has, please click the like button down below. If you want to see more of these videos, and I'm going to be doing one similar to this on GoPro photos coming up shortly, hit the subscribe button and the notify bell, and you will get a notification when the video comes out, hopefully. So until then, have a good evening, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.